Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Van Tyne here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Strategic Source panel. And Ted, lots of exciting things that Strategic Source is bringing to the industry.
Sarah, you're so right. We've heard a lot about Strategic Source. We're very honored today to have Chris Austin, the Chief Revenue Officer, with us. Chris, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you so much, Ted and Sarah. It's a pleasure to be on here. I'm excited to chat with you and nice to be on here today. So thank you for having me. I'm excited about this opportunity.
Well, Chris, to kick things off, our audience, this is the first time Strategic Source is on the roundtable. So for our audience today, what is Strategic Source and how did you get into automotive?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So Strategic Source has been around for roughly 30 years, 25 specifically in automotive. Who we are, we're an outsourced purchasing organization that really guides businesses in a few areas. Before I start that, we're Minnesota based. We serve all 50 states. We've worked in parts of Canada as well, but mainly a US focused. A few little pieces on us. We are supplier independent. What that means is, yes, we have relationships with suppliers, what we call certified suppliers, but we don't take as much of a cup of coffee from them. We work on behalf of our clients, renegotiate on their behalf. And really the value they see with our suppliers are the relationships, working with high performing suppliers, competitively priced, great service, great name in the community. And are providing great service levels, whether it's a product or service. But yeah, we have a lot of what we call certified supplier relationships. That's up to 100 plus and growing. So we've vetted high performing suppliers and confidently recommend those to our clients. But what we found over time in the automotive space is that most dealers, they have such special relationships within the community. A lot of their suppliers are, purchasing trucks or service or parts from the dealerships, and they want to work with those customers as well. So a lot of what we focus on is our benchmarks to improve their pricing. Unless they have an issue with service or quality of products, then we can quote and renegotiate or go out for competitive quotes with competing suppliers. But yeah, we're an educator in spend management and profitability. Really shifted our focus to on expense management to improving profitability, especially as sales are fluctuating. But what we do and how we get there is really spend planning and mapping. We end up renegotiating with current suppliers about 50% of the time, keeping the relationships they have in place. We quote with competing suppliers in the area, whether you're local, regional, or national. We audit suppliers for price compliance. A lot of dealerships don't have time to audit their suppliers, for instance, their uniform contract. Are we paying the correct amount for the pants, the shirts, the jackets, the mats, and so on? So that's a big piece. We implement our solutions. So we bring back multiple options to our clients. They select supplier A, B, C, or D. We implement that and audit, make sure the pricing is correct, and then also manage their contracts. That's a huge gap today. Dealerships have multiple locations, multiple managers that manage these contracts. They're decentralized, so contract management has been a big focus. But we really got our start in automotive. We're based out of Minnesota. We started here actually locally with the Saturn franchises. And this was about 25 years ago. So worked with a single point Saturn franchise, and that grew. They were part of a larger 50 store group. So really we're exposed to other segments within this 50 store group. So we really grew from referrals, word of mouth, 20 group presentations, manufacturers we're working with, and also state associations. But what we realized, yes, we've been in other industries, manufacturing, restaurants, hotels, banks, airports, and whatnot. But what we found, there's a huge gap in the auto space. That's how we got our start, is that 95% of dealerships are decentralized, meaning they don't have a dedicated purchasing procurement team shopping expenses. This typically falls on department heads, fixed ops managers, CFOs, controllers, general managers, principals, and whatnot. So, which is really not their primary focus to renegotiate, or they really don't have the expertise or the kind of the background to do that. So we saw a gap there and really grew in automotive based on this gap in the business and focusing on profitability, managing expenses, reducing expenses. But we find that automotive groups tend to really focus on selling more and service and parts.
Sure.
So, outsourcing this function has been a big deal because we found that to put a band-aid on expenses, a lot of dealers just say, hey, let's put more into marketing, let's put more into advertising, we'll just sell more, and hopefully that expense problem goes away, which we found it doesn't unless you have a strategic plan in place.
Makes a lot of sense.
And
Yeah.
one other thing on that is the DMS systems. As we dig into the different DMS systems, it's a huge area of expense, but this is where all their suppliers are hosted. And when we initially started out, we thought there were 20 areas of expenses. Little did we find out that that's up to 160 different areas of expenses. You start breaking down those GL codes within the DMS system. So big opportunity, but automotive's been awesome to work with. We've learned a ton, or still learning, and it's been a great industry to serve.
We are aware that you are squarely in automotive, for sure, with retailers, with dealers. And Chris, tell us again, what is your role, Chris Austin's role with Strategic Source?
Yeah, so I'm the CRO of sales and marketing here at Strategic Source. I've been doing this since college, since my junior year of college. So I've been exposed to really every department here, the assessment side, the sourcing, client services, audit, and now sales and marketing. So it's been a challenge to be in each area, but a fun challenge to learn how all the departments kind of work together. But been a great learning experience, I would say. Just the knowledge of the business challenges of our clients, the lack of profitability focus, and how a good plan can really positively change a business. So I've been involved in different speaking engagements, state associations, different boards we're a part of, and 20 groups. But I think a lot of what I've learned in the auto space has, been on the client management side, working with the executives and management teams, being part of their monthly meetings, really part of budget planning, key decisions on their supplier base, and really the direction of the business, where they're growing. We've seen a ton of acquisitions in the dealership space the last 5 years. So for our team and myself to be part of those meetings, it's fun. It's fun to see the growth and the planning and the key decisions that come from with these meetings, and what that means to the future and all the employees that follow. But also the sourcing experience too, working directly with our client suppliers. You get insight into the supplier pricing and benchmarks. You also get insight into high performing suppliers as well as low performing suppliers. So it's been a big learning curve for me and our business as we've worked really intimately with our clients.
Well, Chris, you've set the stage for our audience today. You've gone through quite a bit with what Strategic Source is doing in the history in the industry. I want to flip the conversation a little bit to talk about some of the challenges right now that dealerships are facing, because, as Ted and I see at many discussions across the Fixed Ops Roundtable, the cost of goods and services, continues to rise. The costs of parts, the costs of everything is going up. And so a lot of dealers are facing challenges when it comes to revenue and opportunities to retain customers and keep all of those pieces in their ecosystem. So what challenges are you seeing across Strategic Source that dealerships are facing today?
So we just had our all company meeting yesterday here in Savage, Minnesota, and we talked about a lot of these challenges, what our clients are facing today, and what we can do to kind of navigate and help them through that. But a few common trends we saw the last few days in terms of our meetings, inconsistent sales based on the brands. This has been a common theme, I would say, for the last 2 to 3 years, where you have high months, low months, but it really depends on the brands and manufacturers that our dealers have. We work with single points all the way up to a lot of these mega groups that have multiple brands, but that's been inconsistent is the sales. Going back to COVID, when dealerships were selling cars before they hit the lot, it was a way different world we were in 5 to 6 years ago compared to where we're at today. But profitability challenges have been the biggest theme we've seen as a company. in terms of where our clients stand today. Big focus on profitability, reducing expenses, but a lot of dealers don't know where to start. They know they have an issue, but with all those 160 different areas that we're seeing today, where do you start? Where do you even begin? Where is that information sitting? We're seeing expenses on the rise, but unsure where to begin or how to attack the expenses. How do we know if our pricing is competitive today without benchmarks, without price comparisons to understand where you sit? Dealers, the management teams are really thinly staffed. This is something we're seeing as a common theme in the dealer space today, where department heads going back to fixed ops directors, general managers, CFOs, controllers, a lot of this renegotiating tends to fall on those department heads. And we know that's not their primary focus, right? A lot of, going to the fixed ops, they're focused on sales or, service and parts. So renegotiating is a struggle in terms of where do we begin and what are we comparing our pricing to? Price creep is a big thing. Sarah, I think you mentioned that too, but price creep, really every department is seeing some kind of price increase and inflation.
Yes.
So, one of the things that was discussed yesterday was uniforms and laundry in particular. One of our new clients we just brought on, just realized a 72% increase in uniforms. I don't think I've heard of an increase that significant that they weren't aware of until they dug into their invoices or statements they were getting from the suppliers. So really having a firm grasp on your expenses down to the item level, matching that up to the contract is a common theme that we're seeing that not a lot of dealers have time for.
Mm-hmm.
But we know it's an area of focus. Shipping costs have gone up. FedEx, UPS type of expenses, shipping parts and letters next day, and ground. All of those shipping costs have gone up significantly. But we're seeing a trend, and this has been a consistent number. Most dealerships are overspending by an average of 25%, and this has been consistent for the last 25 years, building on the 25 number. So if dealers are wondering what's the opportunity, how much am I overspending? This has been consistent whether you're a one store group or you have 60 to 80 locations. On average, 25% is going out the window in terms of indirect expenses, office supplies, telephone systems, computers, waste and recycling, whatever it may be.
So, Chris, it sounds like Strategic Source knows what to look for. You are very familiar with this space and are witnessing all the things that we are hearing about from our clients. So, for the folks watching today, dealers, managers, decision makers who have a lot of these expenses, and you just mentioned a few now that are, sort of kind of the ones that maybe even fly under the radar because we assume that those are fixed costs and they seem to be quite variable. How can you help our audience, and how can our audience reach out to you and get more information and take the next step? And what if they just have questions and want to run some things by you? How can all that work?
So how we help dealers, really it's by setting up a predictable, proven plan to attack expenses. And really this involves really the management team and key decision makers. So we really start off with the DMS extract for the last 12 months. Whatever your DMS system is, most of your suppliers are stored in there. We're looking for a rolling 12-month history, as well as credit card spend. A lot of dealers are using credit cards to pay suppliers as well, so we want to incorporate that. Start getting contracts centralized, move away from decentralized to centralizing all those contracts, start managing those electronically so there are no surprises or auto renewals. So we get those in place. We do interviews with the management team to understand so it's not just about bringing on the least expensive supplier. It's really looking at, what's important to you, service levels. Do you want someone local or regional or a national presence? But really trying to understand how they're making decisions as a management team. Every dealership group is a little different, so there's no copy and paste in terms of the questions we ask. But really setting up a monthly plan, prioritizing those expenses on a monthly basis. The client agrees to that, and then we follow that. And we meet once a month, and we go over every recommendation, analysis, contract that need to be aware of, audit results, and just overall decisions. So that lasts about an hour. But it really gets buy-in from the team. Every department has a say, in terms of the suppliers they're working with and how they're making decisions. So it's just really getting instead of a reactive approach, it's a proactive approach with the full management team in place. Um, but in terms of getting set up with us, we'll have a QR code at the end of the presentation as well. My email should be on there, caustin@strategicsource.com, if you have any questions or want to understand what the opportunity is within your group. But all of my contact information will be on there, and we'd be happy to assist and jump on and learn more about your dealership.
Ted, it's exciting to hear all of the ways that a strategic source is really helping dealerships monitor these expenses and think about how they can be more profitable and more mindful with the revenue that they have coming into the dealership.
Very timely, Sarah. You're right. And as we mentioned, we're hearing a lot about this right now in our industry. So, Chris, thank you so much for being with us. Chris Austin, everybody, at Strategic Source. You can reach out to them. Strategicsource.com on the web. You see Chris's email down below. And Chris, we'd like to invite you back, and maybe on the next upcoming event, maybe perhaps we get some feedback from some dealers who have experienced some of these cost increases and some of the things that they're working on now with you. And I think that'd be very fascinating and super timely, Chris, for right now, what's happening in the industry.
Yes, we'd be happy to see you guys in person and meet everyone, and look forward to the opportunity. So thank you again for having me on. It was a pleasure to be on with you both, and appreciate the time today. Thank you so much.
Chris Austin, everybody, with Strategic Source, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.